I always joke and I say I feel like I'm like a Lifetime movie, like in the making, because they always start out where there's like this small town. Everybody knows everybody, right? And I think there's a Miranda Lambert song, Everybody Dies Famous in a Small Town, where it's like people don't even have kids and they're still showing up every Friday night to the home football games, watching the team go defeated every year. Like that's just the hype of it because they can't wait to go to the bar afterwards and just drink. It's like
hometown pride, okay? Yeah. So, I mean, how do you have that mental fortitude beyond a student loan? But we're talking about real political things that affect our daily lives and people that are standing up and their livelihoods are being taken, things like that. What would you do in that situation?
It's unfortunate, but there's another quote that I saw where it's just like, you have people who watch things happen, you have people who make things happen, and you have people who wondered what happened. You just gotta know yourself. Like, I know me, I'm gonna question everything. Like, you can't
show me the receipts.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to the Side by Side podcast with your host, Brandon.
And I'm Dimari.
Here we engage in meaningful conversations in hopes to create unity and diversity by enlightening and inspiring minds, one question at a time. We do that by bringing on two strangers each week to show we have a lot more in common than meets the eye. Today we have Caela Collins and Jayme Shiarla on with us. Say hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
All right, so we like to kick this off with a little segment we call This or That. Damari is going to cue it up for us. Take it away.
All right, and so, we're going to do this collectively. First thing, just, this or that. Start this off easy. Basketball or football?
Basketball.
To play or to watch?
Basketball or football?
Basketball.
Let's go, Cleveland Cavaliers. Whoop, whoop. Second in the East right now, 6-1 to start the season. I got to give it up for my guys.
I used to be a point guard.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So wait, is that you choosing basketball, Rizzo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, cool. Drop top or SUV?
Drop top.
SUV.
Huh. Okay.
I want to say drop top, but I've never had one, so I got to go SUV.
Okay. Vodka or whiskey?
Whiskey, hands down.
I don't drink anymore but vodka.
Whiskey.
The staple, Batman or Superman?
Batman.
The Batman.
And last one, New York City or Los Angeles?
New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. This turned out to be a hard one on me here. Dang. I got to give it up to LA, bro. I lived there, so I'm just going to give it up to LA for now. Yeah.
All right, man. So I definitely got to go basketball, drop top, vodka, Batman in New York City. There's no other place like New York. Awesome, man. So I guess, we're doing the rapid fire round, the word association. Rizzo, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so I'll take Caela this week.
Okay.
All right. Caela, Love is Blind.
Wait, sorry. So I just have to say a word?
First thing that comes to mind. It could be a word Netflix. Or just the first thought. There you go.
Okay, Netflix.
Russell Brand.
Afro.
What'd you say?
Afro. Is that the guy that... Okay, Afro. I don't know. I don't. Sorry to that man. Sorry to that man. I don't know.
It's all good. All
Sorry
good.
to that man. I love Kiki.
Working out.
Dumbbells.
Ex-boyfriend.
Blocked.
Sunday fun day.
Sleep.
I love that.
Sunday's recovery day.
I saw a meme, or my wife sent me a meme yesterday, and it was something like, do you ever just think about how being in bed is awesome, and then you get in bed, and I'm so happy that I'm in bed that I think about how happy I'm in bed? And I was like, that is you to a T. Like, that is you. I love it.
See, they don't know your wife, but listen, that is exactly her. Like, that's I'm like, I feel like it like hurts her to have to get out of bed. Like, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. She's basically a human cat. It's insane. All right, Jayme.
All right.
Kick this off. Faith.
Jesus.
Femininity.
Girl.
Paul Pelosi.
What?
Family.
Far away.
Fitness.
CrossFit.
Of course. The cult. The cult. We gotta go with the cult. This is good. So before we get into this cult, because I gotta talk about this cult. I have to. You know I have to. I want to go back to Caela for a second. So he said ex-boyfriend. You said block. What's up with this? Why are people blocking their... What's going on with the culture? Talk to me.
I just look at it like if someone does something that violates you, then they no longer deserve access to you and your wonderfulness and greatness. You're blocked.
You don't even want to let them see the glow that they're missing out on?
They already know.
They already know. I don't know. That's crazy. Jayme, do you like block people too? Is that like...
So for me, like, I don't talk to, but I get along with both of my exes, even though there's some crazy stories in there. But, like, I get it because prior to social media, like, you just didn't bump into them, or if you did, or if they asked other people about it. So it's the same thing. Like, I think that's fair, like with what Caela said. Like, why do they have to deserve access to you just because at one point you had a relationship? Like, if you don't want to, because I mean, I think that's also too, sometimes like that's just picking a scab, like that just gives them more of a reason to reach out. It gives them more reason to ask about you. And then it's harder to detach from the relationship. So I mean, I personally like don't have like, I don't know, there's some crazy people out there too. So I don't think it's a bad thing for that either.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, yeah, if your ex is crazy, but everyone it says their ex is crazy. Turns out that you're someone's ex, so you're crazy in someone else's story.
It's true.
I don't think mine are crazy.
I mean, I guess, yeah, perspective.
How
Exactly.
about running into your ex in the real world? I had that experience a long time ago, before I got married, obviously. But I was newly in a new relationship with my wife. At the time, she was my girlfriend. And I ran into my ex, came into my job, and I was like on cloud nine because I was in this new relationship. I had this new job. I'm like doing music, you know, like got my guys. And I'm like, just like, hey, what's up? Like, oh, let me help you out. Like, and I was, and I think she was like just totally taken back that I was like on cloud nine, and we had broke up like 6 months before that. So how about that? Running into somebody.
So basically you weren't even actually happy in a relationship. You were just like pretending to be super happy in a relationship because of your ex, and now you guys are married. No, it's amazing. So you said, I said faith, you said Jesus. Why why should we be following Jesus?
Oh, we're gonna go down this one. So
I'm here for it.
So for me, like, it's never gonna be my place to judge somebody's belief system. My story is not their story. All as I can go off of is my own. And God was someone that I knew about and was forced to know at a very young age. I always talk very, very frequently about Catholic baggage, and it was real, and everything was like, it is black or white. You do this, you die. You do this, you go to hell. You're like excluded from life if you follow this. Like, it was very, very strict. And I never really like got down with that, but I mean, I did it because it was a rule, right? And then so I even like stepped away from my faith for a little bit, and there's just been a lot of moments in my life that like I can't say it's been anything but God, and so I just continued to start like leaning into my faith and being very curious with the Bible, and got involved with more of a non-denominational style of church, and just really appreciate the concept of Christianity. And even if like you talk to tons and tons of scholars, like if you don't like trust even like the statistics on everything about the Bible, like you might as well not follow any other form of history because of just like the details and everything that like led up to that. Like nobody necessarily denied that it even happened. It's whether they denied Jesus or not. So that's at least, again, with my personal journey and the conversations that have opened up and where it's led for me. And I've been at the most peace I've ever been in my life. And doesn't mean my life is easy. Doesn't mean like, oh, joy all day long. No, like stuff still sucks. But, you know, it's been a lot better of a lifestyle choosing to believe and follow in that than not.
So I noticed like when you answered that question, you also mentioned God. So is Jesus God?
So, I mean, like then you go into that aspect with the Trinity where you have, when they say the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So God created Jesus, which would have been him in human form, to be able to experience the temptation of the flesh as we always do. And then that was when Jesus was crucified to die for all of our sins. And that is how the Holy Spirit is now within us. So it's the Holy Trinity.
Okay. I mean, I've heard people talk about it. We get different perspectives on this topic each time. Obviously, we respect them all. Because there was someone that mentioned that the Holy Trinity is not actually in the Bible, that it's just like something he distinguishes Christianity from what he calls Churchianity. And Churchianity talks about this Holy Trinity, but there's no mention of it in the Bible ever. So what do you say to that?
So I'm definitely not going to step in here like a biblical scholar by any means, but this is my second year in a row doing the Bible in a year. And when you go through the Old Testament into the New Testament, the entire time it's talking about the Lord. And then when they refer to like the seed being planted and how Jesus was kind of planted all throughout all of that about his son coming, what was coming ahead, which was being Jesus. And then from there, like you even go through like the book of Paul and everything, they're always referencing the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. So like to have it dissected in that particular way to break down the three, that I don't know, but at least the way that it has been explained to me and from the way that I've interpreted it, that's how I see it. And again, like that's the other part why I say I'm the last person that like I will ever judge on where people stand with their faith, because I'm not going to act like I have it all figured out, and I'm never going to judge somebody if they think otherwise, because I don't know your life. I don't know what's happened to you. And just I would hope I would still plan on loving you the same, no matter what, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but it seems like it's working for you. Caela, do you have any connection to faith at all?
I do. I am Christian. I feel like no matter what your religious beliefs are, it really just boils down to being the best version of yourself, being a good person, trying to love as many people as you can. I I've seen people use religion as a means to discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation or even with like race. But that's their own doing. I don't believe that that's coming from the Bible. Because if we really, really look at it, the Bible really just says love everybody, you know? So that's just my whole take on religion. I don't really get in. I feel like that's a hot topic. I feel like that in politics, people get really upset. So I just try to just be as respectful as I can. But at the end of the day, just try to be a good person, whether you call it God or universe or spirit or vibes. As long as you're just out here trying to promote positivity, you will end up in a good place.
Yeah, I don't know, but the Bible definitely does not go with homosexuality, and Jesus also talks about it as well. That's one thing he does mention. He's not here for. So it's like, it's really tricky to say, okay, I'm Christian, I follow this, but I'm not going to follow all of the preset rules. It's like, how do you pick and choose if you are a follower of Christ? What do you say to that, Caela?
Well, I also kind of look at the 10 Commandments. I mean, I'm not, like Jayme said, I'm not like a biblical scholar. I haven't read the Bible front to back or anything, but like, I do know based on the 10 Commandments, I think love your neighbor as you would love yourself or whatever that 10 Commandments. You just have to love people treat people as you want to be treated. I wouldn't want to be discriminated against, so I don't think it's fair to discriminate other people based on who they choose to love or what they do behind closed doors sexually. That's really not, I feel like it's just really not my business. Like what they decide to do, who they decide to love, if it's not hurting or harming other people, how can we justify that as being wrong? That's
Totally.
just my whole thing.
Yeah, I think the rationale is that you're trying to save them from condemnation. So as a Christian, and I've read the Bible over a dozen times at this point in my life, you're trying to save them basically from themselves, and you need to spread the truth with them so that they may reach this salvation.
But I feel like that also goes into like the savior complex. Like we're just everyday people. Like it's our job I feel like it's more so our job to spread the good news and spread the good word, but it's not our jobs to save people because we don't necessarily have that authority or power, nor do we have the power to really judge, because at the end of the day, at Judgment Day, you're not going to be looking at Caela saying, Caela, do I get into the gates of heaven? No, I'm not going to be there. So that's just my thing. I feel like you can try to save people because you want them to maybe go to heaven, but I don't see that as being our responsibility. I feel like people just kind of take that on for themselves.
I think you got to circle back as a Christian and go read that Bible, man. Jamie's like moving, has a face like, did you want to say something?
Sorry. See, this is good. This is good stuff. Because I agree with both of you. But here's my thing is that, again, who am I to sit here and judge and dismiss somebody as if they're not worthy enough of being saved because they're sinning? We all carry the law of sin in us. So I'm like, okay, you want to judge somebody for this, but if you're technically having sex before marriage, you're just as much of a sinner as them. Like, that's the other part too, is like, and my, with one of the businesses that I have, it's a Christian based brand. And like my business partner and I, we say it all the time, like, love like Jesus. Like, who am I to judge you? Like, one of my clients, he's atheist. I'm not going to be the reason why you hate Christianity. Like, there's a meme I saw one time and it said, if people hate God, that's on them. But if you're the reason why they do, then that's on you. So again, like, love like Jesus. Like, if somebody is doing something I'm not okay with, I'm not going to enable that behavior. Like, going on like another side thing, an example for me to give, I dated a dude who was an alcoholic. Me choosing to be sober and drive his drunk self around, I enabled the behavior. But if I didn't agree with it and I didn't partake in it, I shouldn't necessarily associate myself with him. So that doesn't mean that I'm holier than thou over him, but I can't keep partaking in this as if it's okay if I don't believe that it's okay. But again, like I agree with Caela there that like I it's not my place to judge. Right. I can love people and I can try to help them find that way, but we're all imperfect people pursuing a perfect God anyway. So it's, in my opinion, just because somebody sins differently than me doesn't give me the authority to shun them for what they're doing. I just don't have to agree with it.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that's what Jesus would do anyway. I mean, Jesus is like one of my favorite people. I think probably like my favorite person ever, just because like, dude, he hung out with like all of the bad guys. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's totally me. Like, I just want to hang out with all the bad guys and drink wine with them. We're going to move on though and get into the upbringing. So, I guess, Caela, we'll start with you. Just tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family structure, your career path, and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so, excuse me. I have one other brother. He's 4 years older than me. I'm 27 now. It was just me and him. I lived in a 2-parent household. We grew up in the church. I grew up Baptist, but I also, like to learn new things. I went to Catholic school. I was a teacher's assistant at a Jewish preschool. I actually, like, my day job, I'm working for the Episcopal Church. So it's like I get an opportunity to, I guess, experience different religions. If we're talking about religion. But I've always been a very creative person. I love art. I love theater. I love anything that has to do with the arts. I never actually planned on being a writer. It was just something that was always a hobby. And it wasn't until college I did an internship for Taste the Style, which is now called the Chill Times. And, doing that, I realized that my words actually had power and people actually liked my perspective. So I just had a bucket list item to write a children's book, and I did it. And then that just kind of took me down this road, and I met all these people. And I think, after doing that, I really found out that, like, I really enjoy being a big kid. I enjoy children's content. I enjoy making stories. So then that kind of led me to, like, want to be a storyteller for life.
What's the book called?
My book is called Food is Love. And it's funny because I based it off of a term paper I did. Senior year in college. I had a class called, Advertising in Society. And it was like this chicken versus the egg type situation. Like, did society, like, change advertising, or did advertising change society? Like, who did it first? Who influenced who? And it was, like, really cool. So my final paper was about, like, food and how it went from, like, homemade to pre-made, the dinner table to the TV table, and then from the home to the drive-through, how, like, our ideas of food and being around food changed over time. And a lot of that went with, like, societal changes because women going into the workforce, no one wants to be at home making pasta sauce all day. Like, they're working, they're tired. They want to just pop open a can and make that pasta, So, like, it was just really cool. And then I took that and then I added it with, like, my relationship with my grandmother and turned it into, like, an adventure story, and just talked a lot about how really you could use food as a tangible way to, like, grapple with grief. So, yeah.
Wow, definitely want to get into that a little bit more, but just step back a little bit. So, like, where did you grow up? Okay. Where are you from? What school did you go to? What was high school like?
Okay. So I grew up in New Haven / Hamden, Connecticut. And I still am in Connecticut. My school was an arts high school. My main art was visual arts. It was not writing, which is why it's like funny that I write. So I love to draw and paint. My specialty was mixed media. I guess socially, I would consider myself a floater. Like, I'm an ambivert, so it really just depends. Like, a small group, I'm really cool with like just opening up. But like larger groups are a bit more intimidating. But for the most part, I'm pretty much just cool with everybody. A lot of people generally like me just because I'm nice. Like, I'm not like a butthole to people. So I had friends in like all the different art groups and stuff. I was just a floater. That was my vibe. So I had friends here and there and there. So yeah.
And so you said you have a brother that's older than you?
Yes, he's 4 years older. We had two completely different high school experiences.
Oh, tell us more.
So I went to an arts high school because my parents saw that I was really artsy. So we both grew up going to Catholic school. And then he went on to Catholic high school. And then they put me in like the inner city, like New Haven, like this artsy school because, you know, our personalities were very different. I feel like I'm a lot more outgoing than my brother. And also he's more of that person that like, I guess he could benefit from structure, but I need to be like free flowing. And so I think that's, you know, why our high school experiences were different.
And has that informed your guys' relationship with one another in any way, or how has that affected?
I don't think so. I mean, we're super cool. I mean, I think it really just comes down to gender, to be honest. Like, there's just some things he'll get. There's just some things I won't get. And, like, the age gap, the 4 years, that is a bit, you know, for me, a bit much. But, I mean, we're cool. Like, we don't, you know.
That's awesome. Let's switch gears here and let's bring Jayme in. So Jayme, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you kind of started in your family life, and then what you're doing today.
Sure. So mine, I feel like is gonna be a lot darker sounding compared to hers. So I was born and raised in Ohio.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say we always find the overlap, though. That's what we're gonna get there.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I grew up in a very, very small town in Ohio. It was called Holgate with an H. So kind of like Colgate toothpaste, but with an H. It was a village. Like, didn't even have a stoplight, bring your tractor to school day, like crazy, freaking small. Like, it happened. My graduating class.
Did you bring it? Did you take a tractor to school at any point?
Personally, me, no.
Okay.
Yes. Just super, super small town. Was raised in a Catholic church. This is very bad to say, and I'm very grateful for my upbringing in the sense of like the foundation that was established because of it. But I always like to refer to it as small town, small-minded people. It was like they were in their bubble. Everybody judged everybody. Everybody thought they deserved to know everybody's business. And like, it was, but then they acted like they loved you to your face. It was always very interesting. So I have two older sisters. One is 7 years older. The other one is 11 years older. So I definitely am the baby of the family. And yeah, my parents got divorced when I was like 5. And so in short, anger and alcohol raised me. But then there was the Catholic guilt that came with it where, you know, life could be so much worse, and we still show up to Sunday mass every week. So even at a very young age, I just started throwing myself into anything and everything that I could. Because since there was such an age gap between my sisters and I was the ammunition on how my parents hurt each other by like trying to take me from not getting visitation rights to the other one, where the other two were already like old enough to make a decision or be out of the house. So their experiences were a lot different than mine. And because luckily that it was such a small town, I was able to do multiple sports within a season. So like the second I could get involved with that, like I was in like 5th grade doing basketball, volleyball, cheerleading, track and softball, started babysitting by the time I was like 11. anything that I could do to just like avoid being out of the house. Then at this point, started experiencing a lot of death in my life, like grandparents. I had a cousin of mine, like a second cousin who was in his 50s who had hung himself, like crazy stuff started happening with that. But I did sports. I was pretty good at school, even though I didn't really have to try. But all that kind of happened. And then fast forward to like 8th grade, my mom was like, "You're just freaking angry all the time. So I'm going to take you to the doctor." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And they're like, "You're depressed. So we're going to put you on antidepressants." So in a 6-month time span, they toyed me on 4 different antidepressants. And so I have a very specific headspace and perspective on mental health, which will connect all of the dots here in a moment. But yeah, so I started taking antidepressants and just kind of going through life. And then fast forward to 16, 2 of my best friends died in a car accident on July 3rd, going into July 4th. And so that's not a favorite holiday of mine, but one of those moments where I can't tell you what led me to do it, but I'm like, I'm not going to rely on a pill to get me through my life. So I cut myself cold turkey off of my antidepressants. Stopped going to church because Catholic mass, like very morbid, sorrowful, and just monotone. And I had to leave one funeral to get to the next. And both the churches that I attended was where they were. And the songs that they played at their funeral were the ones that I would hear on a regular Sunday mass. So I'm like, yeah, we're done here. Like, I'm angry. I don't like this. So we're good. Started going to hair school while I was in high school. So that way I graduated and was able to start working for myself, doing hair right out of the gate. I was a cheerleading coach. I was always pouring into everybody else, but behind the scenes, I was like miserable to my family and just mentally exhausted all the time. Swore I would never be with a man like my father. Literally started dating the teenage version of him, which led to me being in a very toxic relationship for 5.5 years. Drugs, alcohol, physical abuse, emotional abuse, attempts of suicide. All during this time, I lost friends to murder, suicide, car accidents. Lost some family members to like old age and issues with that. Started going to school for massage therapy as a backup plan to go in with hair. I was doing hair on the deceased. I was a facilitator for grieving kids due to death of a loved one. I was a Zumba instructor. I was doing working with Special Olympics and doing cheer for that, coaching cheer for that. Got sucked into network marketing for a hot minute. And then just led to a massive space of burnout by the time I was 25, because I was running on complete fumes of just constantly not wanting to ever sit still because I didn't want to have to deal with my own demons. And so I had a kidney infection where I was put on bed rest for a week and had a kind of Jesus moment, like something's got to give. And I randomly switched gears and started selling life insurance and took like top 20% of the company, ended up going corporate with that. And all during this journey of constantly running from myself, I'm like, okay, like if I want something to have to change, like I have to be the one to change it. I can't keep playing victim to my problems. This is exhausting. And started getting involved with personal development, was always in the gym the whole time as like a coping mechanism. And just started finding my faith again. And then started to realize that there was always an underlying theme of me being a coach and just always having the capacity to just mentally push through. And then once I started doing the personal development and seeing the benefits of that, to land this story, that is actually now what I do for a living as I full-time. I've been doing it full-time for just over 2 years now, but have had my coaching business for about 4. I train people's brains, if you will. And for me, it's just all about mentality. And I work with people who struggle with using work as their addiction of choice, or just constantly trying to be strong for everybody else because they deep down don't feel deserving of a happy, fulfilled life themselves. So that's me.
Wow.
Woo! So much to unpack.
Speechless.
Oh, I'm not. I got some questions. Okay. I don't even know where to begin though. So one thing is, first and foremost, no one would know any of these things just by looking at you and the way you carry yourself. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
Now, as a fellow strong person, everyone has that strong friend. And I'm totally the strong person in most of my relationships. who do you lean to? I know you got Jesus. Who are you leaning to in the physical? You know, people, I think I saw a tweet or something like, hey, man, check all your strong friends, you know, because they're keeping stuff in that they're not telling you. So who are you using, Coach Jayme?
So I believe always in being a product of the product. Like, we're never too good to become better. So I always invest in a coach because I need an unbiased source to like call me on my BS and help hold me accountable and be my blind spots, because that very phrase is, I love it. And I love that the topic of mental health is trending in a way to make people more aware. But the issue with the strong friend, because, hey, fun fact, it takes one to know one, is that when people do check in on you, guess what? I'm fine. And why is that? Because if I tell you I'm not fine, now all of a sudden, you're not going to come to me with your problems. You're going to constantly be like, oh, well, we can't bother her. So now we're not needed. And if we're not needed, we feel even worse about ourselves, right? Like, we take pride in being that strong person. Or we're going to justify why our problems aren't big enough and we have to worry about theirs. But deep down, we're like, why can't they just do for me what I'm doing for them? Like, that's all I need, but we don't know how to like actually communicate that. So definitely investing in a coach, obviously my faith, really paying attention to like within my circle and within my relationships, and like knowing and trusting and have good communication skills established with my tight-knit circle to know who and when I can go to them when I need specific things. Like, I know certain friends, they're, the way that they show up in love is different than maybe what some of my other ones will versus like my mother would. But yeah, definitely those would be the three main areas I would say.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with what you were saying, and I'm curious just what Caela thinks. Caela, do you feel like you're like one of those type people in at least in your orbit, where you feel like you're the person kind of like relying on yourself more than others?
I definitely feel like people assume that I have it all together. I have a very calm demeanor, but my mind, like in my brain, it's like, like it's insane. It's insane. But, you know, so a lot of people just assume that like you have everything together because you're very collected. But it's just like, just because I have a very calm demeanor doesn't mean that like my mind isn't going through hula hoops right now. You know what I mean? So, I actually had to come to grips with like learning that it's okay to be vulnerable around people, because I feel like there's also that part too, like when you are the strong friend, you also want to maintain that look that you're strong. So it's like, well, if I do this, people will see me as weak. And it's just like, well, no, it actually takes a very strong person to admit when, you know, they need help. So that was a big lesson for me too, to like actually reach out to people and say like, hey, I'm actually not okay right now. And I do need my support system. And I also agree with Jayme, like there's certain people you go to certain things about, you know, specific situations. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like super important and intelligent to, you know, decide and discern who you're going to seek what information from, so you can get, you know, the best solution, hopefully. But, you know, so I just looked up Holgate. Okay. It's basically like right next to nowhere. It's right there around the corner. It has a population as of 2021 of 1,051 people, probably 1,050 because Jayme left. No, it's just down. So I would imagine.
Wait a minute. You mean the technocrats didn't buy a house in Holgate, Ohio, and drive the prices up?
I'm not saying that they don't own all the property now. BlackRock might own everything, which leads me to what, you know, my next thing is. So in this great village in Henry County, you said, you know, you dealt with people who have attempted suicide, who were successful in their attempts, who, you know, faced vehicular death, right? Homicides, all types of stuff. And you got out of there and you're doing extremely well from what I can see on the surface, right? So do you ever feel like you face survivor's guilt or survivor's remorse?
That's very interesting, the timing of you asking me this question. So I've been out of Ohio for 3 years now. I was in Stamford, Connecticut for a year, and then I've been in Austin. Next month will be 2 years. And in that time span, I've officially went home 9 times because all my family's back there. I have nieces and nephews, and I'm really tight with my mom, so definitely to go back and see them. And up until this last time, I've felt different. So the 8 times I had went back, within like 27 hours, I'm like, yeah, we gotta go. Like, y'all are so freaking negative, and the way you judge people and you blame everything else in the world for your problems and you don't take accountability. Like, I'm like, and then it's funny because, I always joke and I say, I feel like I'm like a Lifetime movie, like in the making, because they always start out where there's like this small town, everybody knows everybody, right? And I think there's a Miranda Lambert song, Everybody Dies Famous in a Small Town, where it's like people don't even have kids and they're still showing up every Friday night to the home football games, watching the team go defeated every year. Like, and that's just the hype of it because they can't wait to go to the bar afterwards and just drink. So it's like
hometown pride, okay?
Yeah, and it's real and it's negative. And so
it's negative.
And I've always like referred to it as, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the crab analogy, where they say like when they go to cook like live crab, they throw them in the boiling water. And if there's one crab that tries to like crawl out, rather than the other ones be like, hey man, that's a great idea, they like pull them back into the water. And every time that I would go home, like it would trigger me where I'm like, maybe I'm like faking it. Like maybe I'm not doing as well as what I thought I was, because you guys are reminding me of every part of me that I hated from when I was younger. So that was the first 8 times. And then this last time, and I feel really bad if any of my family ever see this, but my heart was really broken this last time, where it wasn't necessarily survivor's guilt. It was just, I'm so sad that they think that that's what living life is supposed to feel like. Like it breaks my heart to see that they're so fixated in that fixed mindset that it would be such a much more enjoyable life if they would just choose to open themselves up to different ways of doing things or look at their problems from a different perspective. So it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, totally. I definitely empathize with that. I mean, what I've also noticed is, you know, as humans, our environments will change us before we change our environments. And a lot of it goes back to just mentalism, just our way of thinking. And then, of course, the people that we surround ourselves with. And in a small town like that, it just has a small town mentality, right? Which definitely, to me, plays into to mental health, right? But I like to know, like, when you talk about mental health, and I like to get both of your perspectives because I've also been to Gun Haven as well. I'm sorry, New Haven. I've been to New Haven as well, doing some volunteer work actually up there. And what's the other place? Where are all the insurance companies in Connecticut? What's the town? I think it's the capital.
Hartford.
Maybe. Hartford, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Hartford. I did a lot of stuff up there too. So Connecticut, because Connecticut is a very unique place because it is the wealthiest state in the country. People don't know this, but it's the billionaires. I mean, it's crazy. Greenwich, Connecticut. Say less, right? That's all you got. That's all you got to know. But then you literally go to New Haven, and it's like a whole different world, right? It's like, whoa, they got some good pizza though. But beyond that, they got guns too, guns for sale. But they got pizza with that gun.
Usually you find good pizza where there's a lot of guns.
There's a lot of guns.
There's a high correlation there.
We should do like a statistical analysis and see like the validity of that correlation. I'm pretty sure there is. So I like to get both of your perspectives. I'll start with you, Jayme, since you brought it up. But like, you know, how do you define What'd you say, Jamie?
I said go to Caela first. I've been talking for a while.
Well, I just wanted to know, like, how do you define mental health, though? Like, what is mental health to you? Because we hear people talk about it all the time. So either one of you can take it.
Caela, I'll let you go first.
So what does mental health look like or mean to me?
Yeah.
I feel so bad because I feel like we're the complete opposite major. I'm very like, boom, bam, in my answer. So like, sorry if I'm concise, but like, wellness. I don't know. When I think of mental health, I think of just learning that you're, I guess, the captain of your own thoughts and really just trying to deconstruct why you do things. I'm big on journaling. So like, if I feel like some type of way and I don't really understand the feeling, I really try to sit with it. And then you kind of figure out where it actually stems from. Come back to me.
That's hilarious. Big fan of journaling. Definitely want to get into that. But yeah, Jayme, please. What is mental health? And
So for me, it's the same way as when we break down what is health, right? Like you have bad health, you have good health. We're just specifically talking about your mental health. So there's people who are in a poor mental state, and there's people who are maybe a little bit more mentally fit, right? And that's kind of where I had said earlier, like it's so cheesy.
Well,
It's a hard question.
One of my little like slogans is like I train brains and I shift perspectives, right? Like I like to look at the brain just like a muscle in the gym. Like you can go to the gym and do bicep curls to strengthen and create more endurance and stamina of your bicep muscle. But you have to show up, you have to practice, you have to repeat things to do that. Now, if you want your health to like disintegrate, you obviously would be doing the opposite. And just like how there's a physical aspect to it, there's the nutritional aspect to it. So literally when we talk mental health, like what are you consuming? Like what type of garbage are you feeding your brain as far as books you're reading, music you're listening to, TV shows, how sucked into the news that you're getting? Or are you fueling it with more of positive, growth-minded things? And are you willing to put the work in to show up to the mental gym on the days you don't want to and start maybe unpacking some of the things that have led you to be who you are today that maybe aren't best serving you? So,
yeah, no, so I love that analogy. I think the thing that jumps out to me is, with physical health, it's tangible. It's something that we can all see. With mental health, it's intangible. So we can't necessarily see it. So, I mean, me and Brandon are mystics, so we very much are looking at everything from a mental place first, right? Because that's going to ultimately dictate everything else that you do, which ties into nutrition and ties into the physical aspects and all of these things. It's your thoughts first. But, what are you doing? If you can just share a little bit, like what exercises can someone listening to this and they don't understand what you're talking about, what can they do to maybe have that shift, that paradigm shift to maybe have a more fulfilled life?
So as you're going to learn, I mean, you learn this with this or that. I'm not a just very linear thinker. My brain is going 80 different ways. Our world, because of technology, it's a blessing and a curse. We have a tendency to like make these topics super sexy, right? Like now mental health and everybody loves talking about boundaries. And I'm like, dude, like I literally have done productivity workshops with groups of over 6 hours drilling just on boundaries alone because everybody says it, but they don't actually know what it means, right? So like I'm resting because it's good for my mental health. Did you say that, or is it because somebody on TikTok did? So first and foremost,
I think Kim K said it, right? So we all have to do it. She said it.
It's
I'm taking a day. Actually, Rizzo just texted me that like the other day. Didn't you? Rizzo's like, I take the day off for my mental health. I take a mental health day. That's how I read it. It was a text, but I read it as like straight up.
But I'm actually
like, I took a mental health day.
But I'm actually working on my mental health during that day.
Yeah, I know, but it's just funny.
But I mean, I think, and again, going back to the tangibility of physical workouts, because that's also something that is very much a trending topic that everybody kind of understands. Like, you can't look a certain way as some of those people that you are maybe striving to look like unless you do the things that they're doing. So one of my favorite phrases, though, like I use this quote probably like 50 times a week. We need water to survive, but water can also kill you. And our culture, again, when we start trending a topic, we take it and we run with it, that this is the quick fix. This is how it's going to get better. This is how you define mental health. This is how you get out of a traumatic experience. Like, no, we are all different people. I could be allergic to lavender and Caela isn't. Like, we can't treat everybody's body the same way.
I'm sorry, Jayme. There will be no lavender slander on this show. Okay?
Never. I'm really not allergic to it, though, if that makes you feel better.
I was about to say, like, I'm never going to see you again now, Jayme. Like,
no, we are good.
I love me some lavender. I got lavender bamboo sheets on the bed.
We're good. We're good. So calming, so good for your mental health.
Exactly.
But no, so like, I just think, like, first and foremost, like, assess for yourself where you're at. Like, the D word, depression, gets thrown around so frequently now, or even like the word binging. If you look from a medical context of what binging means, but everyone's like, oh, I did a Netflix binge. Like, nah.
Yeah.
We dilute what a lot of these words mean. So to try to kick it to the basic fundamentals, and this has been something that I have been just really, really trying to stress to people. One, like, check your circle. Like, really, are they people who are bringing you down? Are they not? Like, are you really capable of getting out of that situation or not? If you're not, like, everybody has access to a phone. So, like, following maybe certain people who can, like, find, like, that has a similar story to you, that can inspire you, that can at least maybe spark some, like, motivation to want to learn more and to try to get out of your situation if you don't have that specific.
So, but here's the thing, though. So if we go back to the great village in Ohio, Holgate,
right,
where these people are potentially, you know, they don't even realize that they're not necessarily living up to their full potential. So they may not even acknowledge that there is a problem to begin with. So I hear people say, like, oh, I got to do the inner work and all of this jazz, right? So I want to know, how do you even realize that there's an issue, or are they just deluding themselves into thinking that there is not an issue? And Caela, this isn't class, but I saw you raise your hand, so I want you to go ahead and say what you're going to say. I know you like to work with kids and stuff.
I'm a thinker, so I have to process these things, but I feel like you kind of have two types of people. You have the type of people who, maybe not two types, but I feel like you have people who are looking for Band-Aid solutions, or they do find these posts on Instagram and all of these, like, inspirational quotes, and it's supposed to fix your whole day, and saying affirmations is going to make you a whole new person. And then you have other people who are really in deep denial. I, like, going back to the OG question of, like, what I think about mental illness, I think it's really just the ability and the willingness to sit with yourself. That's very hard because sometimes you have to look at very painful things and you have to unpack those painful things, you know? So it's not easy to look at yourself and also realize that maybe you may be the villain in your own story, depending on the certain situation. It's also not easy because you don't change overnight. Sometimes it takes a couple of times failing and falling to really be able to get to that point or that pinnacle. I don't like the word pinnacle, but to get to where you want to be. I just think that you just have to be able to look at yourself and understand who you really are. And I feel like a lot of people don't truly know themselves. That's why you have so many issues when it comes to interpersonal relationships, with friendships, with relationships. So it's like, what did I see before? There was this quote I saw that was like, without saying where you're from, who you know, what you have, what your job is, who are you?
Right. Yeah,
and a lot of people have a very hard time answering that question without
Should we all
things.
answer that?
I can answer it. Yeah, let's go. You start, Caela, since you brought it up. Who are you?
I am a kind person who is very perceptive of when people are feeling down, and I'm also trying to uplift people. I think that at times I can be a silly person. I feel like I am an artistic person. I really love colors. I just think that I don't know. I feel like I'm very unassuming. I feel like because I have this very like, people don't realize that I do have the capability of deep thought. But I don't know. I feel like if I were to say who I am, I'm just that person that really likes to really get to know people beyond their representative selves. I really like to take the time to know that person.
Jayme, who are you?
So first and foremost, I'm a child of God, period. But past that, I am a person who is doing my best to show up as the best version of myself every day. I'm a very flawed human, but I have a ridiculous amount of energy to keep me going and just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, I would say I am a spirit having a human experience. Who are you, Brandon?
I don't know why we always have the same answer. It's just ridiculous. But mine was worded differently though. So I'll say I'm conscious awareness having a experience on Earth.
So there we are. We know who we are. This is good. But so Jayme, so going back to the question, I'd like to hear your response.
Yeah, so, and I love what Caela said, because that's where I was going to get ready to go to, is that, like, first of all, like, I'm going to use this in particular, since this is even literally what I do for a living, is I help people for this. Like, I can't help somebody who doesn't want help. I can't help you if you don't see that there's a problem. That's something you have to do for you. If you have to decide, if you don't like how you're living, you have to be the one to make the decision to decide if you want to change or not, or if you think you're living in a problem or not. And so kind of two sides of the sword here is that, one, don't tell me you don't have resources, because if you have a phone in your hand, you can Google just about anything. Like, hey, what is a good technique to sit with myself and get to know who I am? Journal, right? But I think even bigger than that, and the reason why I want to tread lightly when I say this is because, speaking to all levels of mental health, sometimes when people are in very, 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 like bad mental health places, like just because of even, say, neurologically, whatever, they're dealing with things of that, or like in very, very abusive situations, stuff of all of that. I think that, one, being willing to ask for help, whether it's Googling, whether it's looking for a therapist, whether it's leaning onto a friend, whether it's finding a new circle, whether it's Googling some positive affirmations, whatever. But on the flip side, I think the first step, sit with your freaking self. Do not let the world tell you what you should be thinking and feeling. Like, because guess what? If I think that I only like chicken because everybody in the health and fitness world tells me I should like chicken because it's high in protein and low in fat and great for my macros and it's going to be awesome for performance, that's silly. Like, do I actually like the taste of chicken? The world can't answer that question for me. How do I like my chicken cooked? That is something I need to know. So no
one actually likes chicken, okay?
That's
without the seasoning, no one likes chicken.
Drop your favorite chicken place. Come on, Dimari, plug them.
Tumble 22. Let's get it, baby.
I still have not tried it.
22. Fried chicken. But here's the deal. Without the seasoning, chicken's not
I
good.
thought your favorite chicken was Brandon Rizzo's house.
Now, Rizzo has some wet chicken, guys. Like, I'm gonna be listen, but he does. I told him, like, I don't know if you've ever watched Breaking Bad, but I basically told him, like, I'm gonna Jesse Pinkman him. I'm just gonna chain him up. He's just gonna be like underneath like underground, just like making wet wings. But he's not ready yet, so he still has a career. But once that's over, chicken. No, it's really good. But Tumble 22 is the spot.
Good.
But
it's good.
Have you ever just like took some chicken, did not season it, put it in the oven, put it on the grill, it's not good.
It's true.
It's not tasty. It's not good. So
my dog likes it.
The dog will eat anything.
He likes unseasoned
My dog
chicken.
sniffs poop. Okay, and he licks his mouth afterwards. So I don't know what he's into. But so that's we digress. But here's the thing. So I'm just curious to know, because everyone's talking about like sitting with yourself, and I agree. And I'm just curious to know, like, if you can think back, and you also, Brandon, because I know you've definitely sat with yourself. If you can think back at the moment when you had that like crossover moment where you're like, wow, okay, life is not what I want it to be. I need to do something different. What I'm doing is not working. And that probably happens over and over in different capacities. But if you can think of like the first big moment where it happened, either one of you can jump in first, whoever knows.
I can go. I think it's always a progressive thing too. And I mean, it still happens frequently. But it would definitely be more in my adulthood. And it was because I worked for myself. So I was constantly, and then also I didn't ever want to face my own problems. So usually whatever would happen is that I would run so low on like fumes that I had no choice but to just be stagnant. And at that point, I even would use like alcohol for numbing and stuff like that. But I remember specifically this one time, like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like I feel like a failure. Like this is stupid. Like I don't even want to be here. Cause like I told you guys, there was multiple times that I attempted to kill myself. And I remember there was one time, like I literally just like laid on my floor underneath the crucifix that was hanging in my room. And I just cried. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't like who I am. And like, I literally just had to sit in the grossness of how disappointed I was in me and just really actually hear the way that I talk to myself. And it took just straight silence before I would actually let myself go there. So that's probably the one that comes to mind.
Totally. How about you, Caela?
I think that I legit just came to the point in my life where it's like, I'm not trying to overplan everything. I feel like and this is kind of going back to childhood, like I've been that like very studious student, going to all the clubs. I'd like school clubs.
Not the night clubs, the social clubs you're referring to.
I mean, I did that too, but I mean, I could do both. I balanced it.
I was a hall monitor, okay?
Amber Bear, I did both. But like, I was very much like, you have to do this internship. You have to go get these grades to do this. And like, I was very much like, on my track with my whole plan, and then I graduated college, and then nothing went to plan. I had all these really great internships, these big name brands and this, and I literally could not get a job. And it was just like, I didn't understand. I was very upset. And then I also got a job right out of college working from home, which does not sound bad, but this was pre-pandemic. And then having people asking you every day if you're going to work that day. And it's just like, yes, it's just, I'm not working in an office, or people just like, well, good luck on your job search. It's like, but I have a job. So it's like, so it's like, I had a very untraditional path, and people didn't understand it at the time. Fast forward to now, it's the norm. And then everything going with like me writing this book and then having issues trying to get the book off the ground, trying to find an artist, then trying to find an editor, then having an agent, then losing an agent. And it was just, I just got to a point in my life where it's just like, I'm not going to try to plan anything because everything that I have ever had an issue with, it always ended up working out. I just had to like really trust in divine timing and focus on the things that I could control. Maybe I can't control, finding the right agent to get the vision, but what I can do is the first manuscript is done, I could write book 2 right now. That's what I could focus on. So I think that's a big thing for me is just learning to not try to overplan life or try to have these expectations because you do the A, B, C, D, these certain steps. Just really just going with the flow of life and actually trying to enjoy life as it is, That's easier said than done, but I feel like people think like, oh, when I get to this point in my life, everything's going to be good. But like you have to kind of see like what you can appreciate now. And what's fun now, what's enjoyable now.
Absolutely. No, yeah, the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it, right? I always love that quote. But, and it's funny what you said, because I think there's like some quote about like God, we make plans and God laughs or something like that, which is so true. Which I think the key is to really just control what you can control. Because often things turn out better than how you could have planned it. That's been my experience. Yeah. Like it's just like you think it's going to look a certain way, and then like God's like, no, I got something better. It's not going to look like how you thought it was going to look. It's going to be like in that vein, but different. Or sometimes it doesn't happen at all, and it just wasn't intended for you, is what I've accepted. But I now want to know Rizzo's turning point. But I was going to say something before I asked you, Rizzo, which was like, I remember for me, it's crazy. Like, is this book, everybody heard of 48 Laws of Power? Mm-hmm. Right. Robert Greene's book. So that book is, I don't know, it's crazy. It's like of the world. So I'm not like, I think everybody should read it, but I don't necessarily follow it because I just follow higher power. But 50 Cent co-authored a book with Robert Greene, and it's called The 50th Law. And it's just like quick, like a money grab, like 10 chapters, really good. Like, I know he didn't write it at all. But like great money grab. But he wrote it with him because it's
excellent
like in
marketing, by the way. 50 Cent on the 50th Law.
On the 50th Law, exactly. So good, right?
Yeah, so good.
So crazy thing is, I got that book like as a gift, and because they knew I like 50 Cent, and I was like, okay, cool. So I read it, quick read. Really, nothing I didn't know, but he has a chapter. I believe it's the 8th chapter, and the chapter is titled Boredom, and it was the thing that shifted my whole brain on this whole thing, funny enough, coming from 50 Cent. And he was just like, basically, the key to success is to be able to overcome boredom. And it goes back to what you guys are saying, or you ladies are saying, which is being able to sit with yourself. And that's what he said. If you can't sit with yourself, people that can't sit with themselves, they start to look to other things. And some of those things are negative. It could be overindulging in food. It could be overindulging with the wrong people. It could be drugs. It could be, I got a lot of money, now I'm spending it and I'm broke all of a sudden, right? Because you can't overcome with boredom. And generally, boredom is just being still, and people can't do it. And I read that when I was about 19. And something just clicked when I read it in 50 Cent's voice, because it's like 50 Cent talking. And I'm like, 50 gets it, bro. And 50's been crushing it since like 2003, and he's still here, and he's not broke. So I think 50 was right. Thank you, 50. Rizzo, what was your
the original question that you had asked around, was there a time in your life when things weren't working out and you had to change gears? And then as Caela and Jayme were talking, made me think about something I heard in my early 20s, which was every person should have a thing or the thing that they hold core and dear to their like identity or being or whatever, challenged or proven wrong. And that's always stuck with me. And it actually like is a filter by which I kind of like think about things sometimes now, which I did not do good as a younger man and child. Like I was very like always this like confident little boy and like man that grew up and like was very sure of myself. And as time has gone on, like that thing that I heard is like really like affected how I view things through this filter. And I would say that one major point in my life was like just like being burnt out with chasing music stuff, chasing my music dreams, and having to really like that was my core identity for 20 something years, and it was the only thing I had my eyes set on, and it wasn't working out, and I was burning myself out, and I got to a point where I had to really like challenge that core part of my identity and really kind of reshift my life in a way that was going to be positive and not, you know, lose myself in the process. And so that's something that I thought about when you guys were talking about that.
Yeah, no, it happens to the best of us, man. It might be that time, man.
Is it that time?
I think it's that time, man.
All right.
I think it's that time. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
No,
it's on the back.
I always want that thing,
you know,
man.
Tux is going to lose his mind.
Oh yeah, I know. But I just feel like it should be the sound. Like we need every segment.
I'll
needs
record
a sound.
it and just like play it in the. I'll have to record it in and then upload it to the thing, and then I'll just play it for the guests every time. And then that way we hear it.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I love that.
All right,
because I want to shock them every time, and it's like, yeah that's your homework assignment for sure.
Just so you guys know what we're talking about, I have this thing called the Aztec death whistle, and it's like it's basically just like something the Aztec warriors used to use like when they'd go into battle, and it's like this really like horrific.
Can you just grab it and blow it? Because you can only they don't know.
Yeah, hang on one sec.
And so we're about to introduce a segment right now, and we need a sound, and this is the sound because it's been a part of the show since the very first episode, and this should introduce this segment every time. Listen to this.
So that's
near.
Yeah, so that's imagine being on in the dark of night, and that's coming for you. Not fun.
Yeah. No lanterns, nothing. You're like, oh my God, they have Lucifer with them. We're going to die.
All right, so the allegedly question. So we started switching in the middle of the podcast, asking a challenging and thoughtful question to see what your thoughts are on a particular topic. So, all right, so I don't know if you've been following the news very much this week, but this caught my eye like an hour before the podcast because I saw
allegedly,
and like it definitely flew on the radar. And I feel like I'm pretty tuned into stuff, and I didn't hear about this till like an hour before the podcast, and so I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Leaked documents reported by The Intercept this week show that allegedly websites like Facebook and Twitter were closely collaborating with Homeland Security, FBI, to police disinformation. What do you think about that?
Police disinformation?
Mm-hmm. Quote, disinformation. So the article is it's a very like in-depth investigative journal piece, and basically talking about how over the last several years and election cycles, whatever, like it's become this increasingly kind of like thing bubbling up with censoring people on the internet and call it cancel culture or whatever, like all these things that are kind of percolating in the cultural sphere. And it's now coming to a head where like literally this journalist who did this long piece basically got these leaked documents that show that they were literally in cahoots with one another. Like the government was saying, you need to look into this topic, and the people that are and the things that are being tweeted about this topic, and you need to shut it down, basically, is kind of like what's going on there. And so I'm just curious if you think, what do you think about that? I mean, what comes to mind?
I believe it. I believe it. Just because, like, I promise you, the fact that we were just talking about Jesus in the Bible, that's all I'm going to see on my Instagram feed. Like, I was listening to a podcast, I do not remember the name, but they were saying that Facebook did a study where they split it down the middle, where they posted nothing but negative content and the other side was positive content. The people that were getting the negative content were saying, oh, it's such a terrible day, like it's the worst week ever. And then you had the people who were getting all the positive content, like, oh my gosh, does everyone feel good? I feel so good. And it's just like, I definitely feel like media plays a role in a lot of things, especially when it comes to perspective. So I would not put it past them to do that. Just simply by me talking to my mom about, hey, we probably need to buy eggs today. And next thing I see, an egg ad on my phone. I don't really think
Big Brother knows
I
what
don't
you
think
want.
that's a coincidence. But I don't know. That's just me.
What do you think,
Jayme, what you got?
Okay, so first of all, when I say this, I'm going to sound like I'm 80. Okay, I got it. I haven't even owned a TV in over 4.5 years. So, like, for me, and this kind of goes back to with what we were just talking about before, like, people need to learn how to just sit with themselves. Like, whether an algorithm is watching me and decides to put Nike Metcons on my page because I was looking to buy a new pair of freaking CrossFit shoes. Like, okay, like, hey, that kind of was convenient because I was looking anyways. Yes, there can be a negative to it, but guess what? Just like I said earlier, we need water to survive, but water can also kill us. So technology and social media is going to be a good thing, but it can also be a bad. Personally, and I know how this could obviously lead to very destructive issues, and I know that we talked about this, but like, me having a higher power, if I'm supposed to go because somebody tapped into Facebook and found out that I was wanting to buy eggs on a Tuesday and they tracked me down and kill me for some conspiracy, like, it was my time.
It's my time. But here's the thing. So I just want to make sure. I want to make sure we're on the same page here, because what you two are talking about is just advertising and marketing, right? What we're talking about is disinformation. So disinformation,
which I do want to go back to what they're talking about, because I do have something to say about that, but keep going.
Okay, perfect. So disinformation is basically false information which goes against the mainstream narrative.
Right.
And when that information is out there, it gets censored and pulled off. And so this article is basically showing that all of these alphabet agencies, Homeland Security, FBI, all these different organizations were in cahoots with this for-profit organization, Facebook, better known as Meta, to pull off things from their website which went against the mainstream narrative. So not allowing all different types of narratives to be on your news feed.
Yeah, whether they're correct or not, it's like it gets back to whether you believe that like free speech should be open and free, or if it should be censored. But I think it's also kind of sounding the alarm again that like many people, Edward Snowden, all these people of the past 10 years have sounded the alarm, these whistleblowers, about how they're doing this behind the scenes. And when people speak out about it, they're labeled as crazy, or they're labeled as like, that's disinformation or conspiracy theory or whatever it is. And then people still like go after it because that's their job. They're investigative journalists or whatever, or they're whistleblowers, and they're going to leak this stuff or whatever. And it comes out that, oh no, what that person was saying or these people were saying is actually true, and here's the evidence to back it up. And then it just goes under the rug and flies under the radar. It happens over and over and over again. And I think that's kind of like what I was wondering what you guys think about is it, do you think that that's what's going on, or do you think that it is something else?
Yeah, and I just want to add for 1 second, though, just to make sure. Because that guy like Khashoggi, you just brought up, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jamal Khashoggi, but you can look him up on your own time, right? He was an investigative journalist that was bringing some things to light, and he was killed, right? And nothing happened. No one was charged. So the concern is, why is it that Homeland Security, Facebook, FBI, all of these organizations are the final arbiter of the truth? Who are they to say that what is true and what is not true? And is that okay? Is that not okay? I think that's what Rizzo is trying to get at.
Yeah. So with where I was just like kind of dumbing it down, because like, it's like the game of telephone. I don't need social media that I tell Rizzo something and then he repeats it to Dimari, and then Dimari repeats it to Caela. And by the end, the information probably wasn't accurate anyway. So whether it's on social media or not, like, people need to learn how to think for themselves. And is it unfortunate that, yes, there could be people dying because of misinformation? Yeah. But prior to technology, we didn't have access to this information that quick anyway. So it was happening. Like, bad things are always going to be happening in this world, and so are good. And I think that that's where we need to not allow social media to be like, well, because Kim K said it, it's got to be true. Like,
right.
Like, actually give yourself a chance to process information, whether it's because that also could be me being curious enough to want to go Google whatever that dude's name is, to go ask other
Jamal
people different perspectives. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's still, there's a TV show on Netflix, and because I don't ever watch it, how I got across this, I don't even know. But there's a show called The Mind Explained. And there's one in particular that even talks about people getting sucked into cults. It's because no matter what, if you start obsessing over a specific conspiracy theory, you just took yourself down a ridiculous rabbit hole. And then now you're the crab effect. You're hanging out with all of these people who are like-minded to you. So now you're trusting the source, and now you're probably getting misinformation too. So,
okay, Jayme, I'm sorry. I got to push back now.
Okay.
Is Christianity a cult?
So,
we know CrossFit is. We don't even got to talk about that.
And it's the best dang call I've ever been a part of. So, and that's where, like, for me, again, like, I will never like treat a pastor and what they say as what God tells me. Like, I'm believing it. I'm choosing to interpret it for myself, ask questions, connect dots, sit back and think for myself. To some people, I can understand why they would think it's a cult, right? Because exactly what I would have just said, like-minded people who all feel the same way. But this is also like my default is talking about Christianity. What repercussions really is there to be a good freaking human? Like, that to me, like, fine, if that's a freaking cult, sign me up. Like, loving people, and yeah, life might suck sometimes, but I might get to go to a really awesome place because I chose to just give a crap about people. So, yeah, side note. Yeah.
Look, I just had to. When you said it, I was like, she's literally explaining Christianity, so I have to do it. That's my role here on the show.
And that's fair. I think, and that's where, again, it's like, but guess what? Making the decision for yourself to decide, is this information that I want to follow? Do I back this or don't I? But I'm not sitting here like, oh, because there's this pastor to follow and I have all these affirmations that are Bible verses and other people preaching to me, trying to tell me what it means. Like, nah, I'm just trying to read the book myself and interpret what it means to me. Yeah. And I'm not here to judge you if you do differently, but I'm not going to necessarily be upset if somebody is allegedly saying what they're doing with specific information, because we can't take everything as 100% truth, right? Like, I always like to say everything is situational. Like,
I believe that these, I guess, media companies are definitely capable of doing this because we're speaking about allegedly here.
Allegedly, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's the disclaimer. This is all alleged.
Do I think it's possible? Absolutely. But I also think it comes down to us not being sheep. I understand that common sense is not common. And it's really sad because I feel like we need to get more in the habit of giving pushback, of questioning things and not taking it at face value. So I think we get into that a lot. Like it's a very basic example, but like I called my student loan company when I, first came out of college, and there's two ways to pay it off. There's standard allocation, there's custom allocation. And I asked her what most people do. And I believe she said standard allocation, which is example, if you have 7 loans and you pay $1,000, they pay the highest interest rate first and split that $1,000 up amongst the 7 loans. That's standard allocation versus custom allocation. You take that $1,000 and you could pay off a big chunk of one loan. So if that makes sense. But I asked her, I was like, well, what do people mostly use? And she was like, standard. Me thinking, okay, well, if most people are complaining about how much student loans suck and how long it takes to pay them, maybe I should not go with the thing that most people are doing. And it turns out that custom allocation, and I don't know anybody else's situation, but custom allocation is my jam. Because if I take $1,000 and over a few payments, that whole entire loan is gone, I'm looking at 6 loans versus 7 loans, and I'm still dealing with interest. So you have to learn how to like critically think about things, and you have to like also be able to like just question things. The math has to be mathing somewhere. You
Come on, Caela, preach now.
Ask the questions.
Come on now, Sister Caela. I mean, here's the deal, right? So I'm completely on board, which I am a contrarian. And so it kind of makes me like, to your point, you said something about, okay, well, there's a standard narrative, if you will. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but there's a standard narrative and then there's a custom. The thing is, because the masses are doing the standard narrative, as a custom, you're going to get a lot of flack, and you're up against a whole system of everyone that's thinking in one specific way. So I feel like it's much easier said than done, because at the end of the day, if you don't have the mental fortitude to push through, they're going to have you thinking that you're the crazy one. Like, why are you paying off a whole loan? Why are you giving them $1,000? That's just ludicrous. So, I mean, how do you have that mental fortitude beyond a student loan? But we're talking about real political things that affect our daily lives, and people that are standing up and their livelihoods are being taken, things like that. So, I mean, what would you do in that situation?
I think a big part of that goes back to what we were saying earlier about knowing yourself. It's unfortunate, but there's another quote that I saw. It was just like, you have people who watch things happen, you have people who make things happen, and you have people who wondered what happened. You just gotta know yourself. Like, I know me, I'm gonna question everything. Like, I need to know, like, you can't
show me the receipts.
Yeah, show me the receipts. Like, for example, and going back to my brother, this is why we get into a lot of arguments, because he'll be telling me a story and I'm like, I need details. What time of day was it? What was that? Like, what was the inflection of that person's voice? How did they exactly say it? Like, I need to get the clear picture. Like, I just feel like yes, people could look at you as like you're crazy or this, but yeah, so what? Like, if you really believe in it and you trust yourself because you know yourself, then you're just gonna have to be crazy and stand alone.
You do, but you can't trust everything, even yourself, right? Which is, I had a coach, and I think I told Jayme this once before, and the best advice ever, like, I literally, he's a client, and he's like, this is what I do. I know what he does. And he's like, man, you've been so helpful with me. Let me give you a session. So I didn't want to disrespect him. I'm like, yeah, cool, man. Let me see what you got, bro. So he takes me through this session. He realizes, he's like, okay, dude, you've done like a lot of work. Like, I can tell you've done a lot of introspective work, like yada, yada, yada. Right. But here's the deal. The biggest takeaway that he said, he's like, because it was just perfect for someone to be in your blind spot, to see the things that you can't see about yourself, and to truly view you objectively in a non-judgmental way. And just in the conversations, he'd say things back to me that I said, and he said, well, you said this, yada, yada. And I'm like, I did say that. But one of the things he says, I want you, and this is, hey, this guy's $300 an hour, okay? Okay, so this is free game I'm giving y'all right now. He says, I want you, anytime you think about something, I want you to replace the thought with this. Start it off saying, the story I'm telling myself is fill in the blank. Because you don't know what you're thinking is actually true, right? We're all experiencing this conversation, but based on inflection, like you said, right? Intonation, body mannerisms, all of these different things. You may have a different perception of what I'm saying that may not be exactly what I'm trying to convey, right? And it may come across as something different, right? So everyone just has to get in the habit of saying, the story I'm telling myself is, Dimari, you're an asshole, right? But that doesn't make me an asshole, okay? It just doesn't make me an asshole.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
And it's just like, no, the story I'm telling myself is correct. No.
Everything else was true until that point.
No, I want to wrap it up, but one of the things that we didn't get to touch on, and I just want to wrap up on it really quick. Earlier in the conversation, you brought up medication and antidepressants, and you're talking about mental health and how you were on it and then you disconnected from it. And I just wanted to get everyone's perspective on, different ways to treat mental health as far as big pharma and pharmaceutical companies in general.
So for me, and again, I can only speak on my experience, but also my experience comes from clients that I have worked with as well that have experienced similar things. So I guess I'm going to preface this beforehand. I don't believe that there is a one size fits all or there is a blanket statement that covers everybody. So when I say this, I am not saying this as a complete statement for every situation, right?
Yeah.
My experience, literally, but also I have a couple references to share. My problem is the number one side effect to an antidepressant is in fact suicide. Your girl tried it multiple times. Yes. That distant cousin of mine, like second cousin, whatever, he was in his 50s. He hung himself the day after his dosage got increased. So I have a problem with that. Yes, I know there's studies, but again, I can't even come from the same bloodline of people. Why is it that I'm allergic to lavender and they're not? Like, nobody can truly understand what's happening in I'm not allergic to lavender, Dimari.
I'm like, what is your beef with lavender? Can we say something else?
I don't know. I don't have any allergies at all, so that's just the first one that comes up. But
frankincense and myrrh. How about that one?
No, let's not bring frankincense.
Oh, okay. Right.
That's some good stuff.
What did he ever do to you?
Right. Here's cancer. All right. But no, so like for me, no, you made me forget where I was going with that. Like,
stop hating on Lavender.
We're trusting these people that are now also, I met a guy who literally came from a background of working in military, got a job as medical sales, and has no experience of going to medical school, yet he is training and selling medical equipment to use for surgeons to purchase to use on other humans.
Right.
So we're trusting these people just because they have a degree to say, you have depression, here's an antidepressant, it's going to make you feel better.
That's basically how the opioid crisis started. I also struggle with the fact,
What'd you say, Rizzo?
Oh, sorry.
I said that's how the opioid crisis started. They pushed them on doctors. Doctors bought them, sold them, prescribed them at, no limitation prescriptions, basically, for years and years and decades, and then, boom.
Yeah, I got turned off to the whole medical field when I was a kid. Sorry, I got jaded early. My mentor, big brother, is a pharmaceutical. He's a drug dealer, okay? And he kind of schooled me to the whole game, and I'm just like a curious kid, like, what do you do? How do you, he's got all this money, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And he's like, yeah, I'd sell drugs, like, da-da-da-da-da. And he'd have to go do, like, trade shows. But mainly, that's when I first learned the word schmooze. And he's like, I got to go schmooze. And I'm like, what is schmooze? He's like, well, I just got to go, like, take doctors out. I take them out to expensive dinners and yada, 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 and nurses. And I'm like, why? And he's like, so that they'll sell my drugs to their people. And I'm like, this is crazy. And whole time, he sells this stuff. He doesn't take anything. He doesn't take any drugs, no prescribed medications, no supplements, nothing. He refuses to put it in his body. It's crazy, right?
The math is not
the math ain't mathin', but people keep doing it anyway.
Yeah, and so...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, there's a lot of, like, literature coming out now about, and dude, shout out to Andrew Huberman, man. That guy, if you don't...
Who?
No, Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist.
Okay. He's got the Substack or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's like podcasts and stuff too, but he talks a lot about like sleep, neuroscience, the stuff we're talking about right now. And, they were recently just talking about a lot of literature on like SSRIs, which are antidepressants. That's the scientific definition for them. And then he was talking about sleep and how there's a lot of literature on sleep being now tied to as the cause for depression, specifically around the circadian rhythm, and how that could be a potential therapy or treatment, is correcting people's circadian rhythms and setting a proper schedule around. And it takes time, just like anything. But the thing with SSRIs, they say, is that SSRIs take weeks to take effect. Even if you are prescribed them, they're not going to start working right away. It takes weeks for them to kind of take, go to work. And so, and if you try to get off them, it's very difficult. There's all sorts of conditions like, akathisia and things like that can result from it. But I am definitely not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. I'm not like an expert in this stuff by any means, but I do follow a lot of it. And it's interesting to see people like that who are kind of, trying to help in some way where we can not just, use drugs as the, cure for the disease and try to treat the root symptom or root cause of what's causing these things. But go ahead, Jayme. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, oh no, you're good. So, and that's kind of what I was going to say too. Sean Aker, which actually he's originally here from like the Texas area, but he's like a happy scientist. And he even wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. And in there, he talks about that. He goes, notice you go to the doctor and they'll diagnose you as depressed, but when has a doctor ever diagnosed you as happy? Like depression is also an emotion. And like in my example, like I was a freaking grieving kid. I had a screwed up childhood. I had experienced tons of death. I'm a hormonal like female coming into like her teens and trying to figure out who I am in this world. Like I needed to feel heard. I needed to like process. And the other thing that I struggle with too is that like how quickly people are put on antidepressants, but yet they're drinking alcohol every day of the week. Alcohol is a depressant. Like if you're not moving your body, like we have jobs, like a lot of us have jobs where you just sit still. Your body was meant to move. Right. If you're not doing the basic functions of things that should make you feel better, maybe that's where we should start. Sleep, things like that. Like I was, prior to this, I was a massage therapist. That's honestly the big reason why I stepped away, was because I was at the bottom of the medical totem pole, where literally if you would get a massage by me and I would tell you afterwards, go drink water, you could turn me in and I could get fined because I prescribed water, and that's out of my scope.
Wow.
But yet I would get people off of their medications because I was doing something that was actually leading to the alleviation of the problem with what was causing them to be in pain, not just masked with the duct tape, right? And so, yeah. But yeah,
you see what
so
you just did,
me,
Jayme? You subliminally got me drinking water. I mean,
there we go.
I think she's working with Homeland Security and the FBI.
It's the algorithm.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
Rizzo, something you said literally reminded me of the Curb episode when it's like, who do you trust, the doctor or the pharmacist? I don't know if you've seen that episode, but it's like hilarious though. But this has been really great. Caela, if the people are looking for you, and I know you have a book, so go ahead, plug that book, take a little bit of time, plug that book, and tell the people where they can find you if they're looking for you, and tell us a little bit about Food is Love.
So, Food is Love by Caela Collins, Caela, Caela. Here's the main character, Couture, super cool. You can find my book on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. Super easy to find. My website is caela.org. And yeah, Food is Love.
I love that. How much does that retail for?
So this is actually the paperback. The paperback is $15 and the hardcover is $20. Also, I do have a partnership with an app called Novel Effect. So it's really cool. You can pick up the book from any page, any sentence. And when you use the app, it'll play like a dedicated soundtrack, or like I actually had some of my cousins and family members do voiceover. So if you say it's raining outside, you'll hear the thunder and the rain. It's super cool.
That's awesome.
That is really cool. And that's cater toward which demographic?
8 to 13.
8 to 13?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. We gotta get Chase on the Food is Love vibe.
Hell yeah.
Jayme, if the people are looking for you, they need to get their mind right. Where can they find you, Jayme?
Yeah, so I always tell people, please cyber stalk me. That's where you will find out who I am in a nutshell. You can schedule a complimentary discovery call with me, because I don't just work with anybody, but I work with men and women both, specializing in one-on-one coaching for the I'll be happy when syndrome. My next fix for work, making more money and still miserable, and the strong friend. But yeah, my Instagram, Jayme the Coach, and I am the Jayme with no eyes, so Jayme. You guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or you guys can go to my website, JaymeShiarlaCoaching.com.
Ooh.
You know, if I had to like summarize Jayme in one word, it'd be energy. I mean, this girl has so much energy. She's waking up, was it 4:43 in the morning or something?
4:03.
Ooh.
Even worse.
Really? Wow.
4:03 every day. I already know. Dude, she's gonna be up.
I got up at 5:15, got a full workout in, ran 2 miles. I'm thinking, I'm oh yeah, I'm the shit. Nope, Jamie's over here.
No, you are.
Beating
you still are.
Beating me to the punch.
Exactly. That's it. But you're still the shit, bro. She's just the shitter. Okay. That's it. That's just the difference. You're the shit. She's the commode.
Perception is everything here.
Right. Yeah. Right. Not actual feces, people. Rizzo, man, if the people are looking for you, where can they find you, my man? By the way, I love that shirt, bro. Just want to throw that out there. That green looks good on you.
Appreciate
you. Know what I'm saying? Let me see the hat. What's the drip? What you got, bro?
Meanwhile Brewing.
Oh, you've been repping the Meanwhile Brewery for a minute, bro. We got to slide in there, man.
I'm a local business kind of guy, That's where you can find me. So.
At this point, we need the Meanwhile Brewery sponsorship,
I'm thinking about
Tumble 22.
Yeah, we got to hit.
We need Tumble 22. Meanwhile,
if you're
Terry
out there,
Black
if you're
too.
listening and you want to help us with the ad game, with our marketing, with our sponsors, hey, man, hit us up at SideXSidePod. Send us an email or a DM. We need you.
No, we definitely need you, especially if you're in Austin. Link up with us. But sorry, Rizzo, just so I was admiring the shirt. It's a really good color. I kind of want to borrow it. I think it would look good against my skin tone. Just putting that out there. It will
actually fit you, too, because this is like a shacket. So it will fit you, I believe. It might.
What's a shacket, bro?
Shirt jacket.
Yeah.
Man, y'all come up with new stuff every day, man. I'm old. I'm like Jayme. I got no TV and I'm 80. Okay,
you can find me at rizzofeels.com and LinkedIn, Brandon Rizzo, multi-unit business operator.
Get into that chicken. If you're looking for me, you can find me at Judah Clan. Right now, I'm just doing Twitter, man, because Twitter is where the free speech is right now. So I'm over there. Catch me talking crazy if you want to. No other socials at the moment. But you can find us at SideXSidePod on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. SideXSidePod on the gram, on Twitter, all the above. TikTok, wherever you like to do it. We're not doing any dances on TikTok, but we are posting content. Until we're side by side next week, thank you. Peace.
Hi, I'm Dimari.
And I'm Brandon. Before the show begins, please subscribe, like, comment, and share with a friend.
This allows us to increase our visibility on the platforms where you listen and watch so we can continue to bring you quality content each week. Help us grow, and we can grow together by enlightening minds one question at a time.
Are you a small business owner, young professional, or pre-retiree looking to grow and protect your assets but don't know where to start? With all the noise about stocks, bonds, cryptos, it can be hard to know what steps to take. Let Black Swan Financial Group help you so you can focus on doing what you're good at. Black Swan Financial Group is a telefinancial planning firm operating in select states nationwide. They're here to help you protect, create, and grow your assets. Visit BlackSwanFinancialGroup.com today to get your free consultation. Hey everybody, Brandon and Dimari from Side by Side here. Just want to tell you about one of our newest sponsors, Ease Web Development.
Ease Web Development specializes in building high conversion websites and marketing campaigns that take your business to the next level. They're the easy decision when it comes to marketing.
So check them out now at www.easewebdev.com. That's ease, WEBDEV.com. Now back to the show.